Hello, and welcome to this podcast for radiation physics at Wenatchee Valley College in Wenatchee, Washington. I am Todd Bussey, your instructor, and I hope you find this podcast and all the other podcasts for this class helpful. This podcast, I will be talking about absolute value and adding and subtracting, multiplying, dividing integers. So let's look at the first example. The first example is talking about absolute value. What absolute value is the distance a number is from zero on the number line. The easy way to remember this is there's no sign on the number. So if we take the absolute value of negative 4, the vertical bars mean absolute value. The absolute value of negative 4 is how far is negative 4 away from 0? It's 4 units. So the absolute value of negative 4 is 4. If we look at the absolute value of 6, how far is 6 away from 0? It is 6 units away, so the absolute value of 6 is 6. So basically you lose the negative sign for the shortcut of that one. The next example we're going to look at is adding and subtracting integers. Integers are positive and negative numbers, and they have to be whole numbers, so positive and negative whole numbers. There will be no decimals in integers. So the first one we have is a positive 6 plus a positive 7, which ends up being 6 plus 7, which is 13. If we look at negative 7 plus negative 3, we end up with negative 10. So what that tells me is if the two signs are the same, we will add the two numbers together and take the sign of that number. The next one we want to look at is when we subtract. Negative 2 minus 6, we can change the negative into an addition, and we'll end up having negative 2 plus negative 6. The signs are the same, so we add, and we get negative 8 for that answer. So based on these last three examples actually, we have if the signs are the same, you add and use the sign that's given to you, either the positive symbol or the negative symbol. Next, let's look at when we're adding and subtracting with the signs are different from each other. So in this example, we have negative 7 plus 3. And so when the signs are different, we're going to subtract. We're going to take the bigger absolute value number, in this case the 7, and subtract 3 from it. So we're going to have 7 minus 3. Since the 7 was bigger, the answer is going to be negative. So we're going to have negative 4. So negative 7 plus 3 is negative 4. The next example, we have 10 plus negative 4. The 10 is the bigger absolute value, so we're going to take 10 minus 4, which is 6. The 10 is bigger and it's positive, so the answer is going to be a positive 6. So 10 plus a negative 4 is positive 6. So based on the last two examples, if the signs are different, you subtract the smaller absolute value number from the larger absolute value number and take the sign of the larger absolute value number. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is subtraction of integers. We have 6 minus 8. A lot of you could probably figure out right away that it's negative 2, besides that the answer is right below. But we want to look and see how we can do subtraction. The easiest way that I found to do subtraction is change the subtraction to addition. So when we do change the subtraction to addition, we have to change the sign on the second number. In this case, the second number is a positive 8. So we have positive 6 minus a positive 8. When we change the symbol to an addition symbol, we're going to have 6 plus a negative 8. The signs are different, so we go back to the rule we just had. Take 8 minus 6, which is 2. The 8's bigger, which is a negative sign, so it's going to be a negative 2. So 6 minus 8 is negative 2. The next one we have is 8 minus a negative 4. So we change the subtraction to addition and change the sign on the second number, and we will end up having 8 plus 4, which will give us 12. Next example is a negative 4 minus a negative 8. We have to change the subtraction to addition, so we're going to change the negative 8 to a positive 8, so we are going to end up having negative 4 plus 8. We go back to one of our beginning rules. The signs are different. We go 8 minus 4, which is 4. The 8's bigger, so it's going to end up being a positive 4. So negative 4 minus a negative 8 ends up being 4. Next, we're going to go on to multiplying and dividing integers. And luckily, when you multiply and divide, the rule is the same. When multiplying or dividing integers, if the signs are the same, the answer is going to be positive. So if they're both negative or both positive, the answer is going to be positive. If the signs are different, the answer will be negative. So if we have a negative times a positive, the answer is negative. Another way to think of it is if we have an odd number of negative signs, the answer is going to be negative. So we could multiply 6 or 7 numbers together, and if we have 3 of those numbers being negative, the answer is going to be negative. So let's look at a couple examples of multiplying. We have a positive 4 times a positive 6. 4 times 6 is 24. They're both the same. It's going to be a positive 24. Negative 5 times a negative 4 is 20 because the signs are the same. We have negative 2 times positive 6. Signs are different. The answer is going to be negative. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 times a negative 2. The signs are different. The answer is going to be negative. 6 times 2 is 12. A lot of times I figure out what the sign is going to be before I even multiply the numbers together. When we look at division, we have a positive 10 divided by a positive 2. Both signs the same. The answer is going to be positive. 2 goes into 10 5 times. Then we have negative 12 divided by a negative 4. The signs are the same. The answer is going to be positive. 4 goes into 12 3 times. And then we have 6 divided by a negative 2. Signs are different. We have an odd number of negative signs. The answer is going to be negative. 2 goes into 6 3 times, so we get a negative 3 for our answer. And finally, negative 8 divided by 2. Signs are different, so we're going to get a negative for our answer. 2 goes into 8 4 times, so we're going to get negative 4 as our answer. And that is multiplying and dividing and adding and subtracting integers. And so this podcast is finished, and so we will see you next time. Thank you.